it up somehow.
Yes, my Stray Dog family, it is time for me to bid you a very pleasant night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and a very pleasant night to my Stray Dog family throughout the entire Caribbean region. To my Stray Dog family all over the world, I say good morning. I can't say good night, and I will say good afternoon as well, because my Stray Dog family are all over the diaspora. Some of you are in Africa, some of you are in Asia, there are some of you in Europe, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to extend such salutations tonight. And for those in Europe, we say good morning, and others we say good afternoon as well. If you are a first timer, and we do have first timers each time, I'm happy for that. Happy for all those who continue to share the link for Straight Talk, because it's your program. We try to we actually facilitate and promote all issues of national interest. It's a public service program. And whether they're legal, they're environmental, they're technological, social, economic, and or political issues, social issues as well, we entertain them here on Straight Talk. And in the process, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And as your host, no matter what you hear them say, I am your untiring advocate of truthfulness. Nothing is watered down in any way here on Straight Talk, whether by omission or exaggeration. We don't try to make it more interesting. We tell it like it is. And I consider it rather my duty to always present the unvarnished truth when it comes to governance in my country. I want to hail my young brigade, and I met young Shama yesterday. It was so pleasant to see him. That's OJ's son, so I met his mom as well. And I was so happy that he was so happy. And Shama, if you are logged on tonight, very pleasant night to you. Kevin Hanley over there in Nevis. I say good night to you as well and your family. How is Tristan? Tristan over there in Tabernacle, right? Have you reminded your mom of the show tonight? And of course, there's a special lady, a queen in St. Louis, Texas. I know you're getting a little jealous, but don't worry about this queen in St. Louis. That's Queen. That's been always there. Will always be there. And to my special lady in St. Louis, good night. How is Norma and Danny in UK and the leaders there in the UK as well? The Whites in Toronto. I can go all over North America, Philadelphia. How is my straight talk brother Vince in Philadelphia? New York, there's a whole bunch of you. Georgia, San Francisco, Los Angeles, went to Las Vegas. Las Vegas in the house. That large guy, he's massive. He's in the house, I'm sure. But my Straight Talk family, wherever you are, welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. And we normally have our thesis. And the thesis for tonight, I have titled Incompetence and Deception, Real Threats to Our Democracy. Before we get into our thesis, we normally look at our observations in review. That's when we highlight the issues of the day. In the process, we do some reflection. We ask a few questions as well, such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed, and what can be expected next. Also, what we have learned as a people. And we are still following that story in relation to the water tanks. And I confirm that the $5.8 million to procure 1,000 water tanks. I've been trying to get the size of those tanks. I have not been able to do so yet, but I'm following the story wherever it takes me. But those are some expensive tanks. 1,000 tanks costing $5.8 million. That does not sound right, my brother. That does not sound right. And yes, this Jew administration is really, as someone put it, they're really out of touch. And they're spending the people's money like drunken sailors, I must say. And I learned today there are in fact some 31 or 32 ambassadors and special advisors for the Jew administration. And they're listed there on your screen. Believe it or not, my Straight Dog family. And these are full-time paid advisors, ambassadors, and envoys that the incompetent Jew administration have hired. Ricky Skerritt, we know Ricky Skerritt. We know Cedric Liebert, the Barside Agreement man. Leon Natter, Kenny Douglas, Maureen Weber, Dr. Maureen Weber. She's a consultant, Jamaican by birth. I think she lives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines or someplace like that. Lionel Woosie Rollins, Douglas Watley and Duncan Watley, and Kevin Infamous Benjamin. Sean White is listed as well. Sam Condor, Sylvester Anthony, Dr. Patrick Martin, Hadia Claxton, Dr. Claxton, Austin Edinburgh, Via Galloway, Albert Bradley, Theo Clark, and Dr. Powell, and our retired commander of the Armed Forces, Commander Wallace. Leroy Fishy Percival, Calvin St. Just, Norjan Wilson, Ambassador to Venezuela, Valentine Lindsay, Advisor, and Dr. Isaac Newton, he must be coming at a hefty cost, from Antigua. Ivan Hanley, Warren Nero, Dev Gurdip Bath, Creos Freeman, and my dear cousin Larry Vaughan. And there's also, we can add to that list. I was perusing the list, and there's one name that's missing. Is a Dr. Theodore Hanley. I think that's his name. And my Street Dog family, I understand that the cost to the Treasury is near $6 million per annum for all these advisors, ambassadors, and envoys. And that's very interesting, my Street Dog family, but we'll hear more about that. Our other observation for tonight, we are still following this housing project. Remember that we should have constructed 600 houses this year. Well, we're now heading hard tomorrow to September. And the start of the housing project, it's being pushed further and further down the road. We saw Jeffrey Hanley and Dr. Jew and Brian Singh. And we were told that the model homes were going to be constructed. They have not started as yet. One, we understand, would be in the Connery area, and the other in Taylor's village area. And as we say, there's something going on wrong. Or perhaps we ask the question, is the developer, Brian Singh, having issues with the bank or with the unbankables? Was Garth Wilkin right? We ask the question as well. Was Garth Wilkin right, or was he wrong when he exposed the facts about the houses and who would have access to those houses? And remember that the disgraced Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs has said this to the nation.
It is not government buying the houses or NHC buying the houses. It's individuals buying the houses. This is the solution for persons who are bankable and can take a mortgage loan from a credit union or a bank, and they can purchase their one-bedroom house for $111,000, their two-bedroom for $213,000, and their three-bedroom for $497,000.
And my Straight Talk family, I'm sure you will recall that the size of the houses were increased at no cost to the buyers. And somebody had to absorb millions of dollars when you calculate the square footage that was increased. The variation in these houses costs somebody $5 million. That's very strange that it would be so easily absorbed, that the houses would be at no extra cost. And my Straight Talk family, it is very, very strange as well. We've had about 2 or 3 different designs. The last design was proffered by Williams Architecture, Victor Williams. I don't know if he did it pro bono. I doubt that very much. But we are following the non-implementation of that housing project, which was announced months ago, my Street Dog family. Our second observation, my Street Dog family, relates to a trip that Dr. Drew went jolly along to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And everybody is asking, why did Dr. Drew went to meet the Minister of Agriculture in St. Vincent, and he met the Deputy Prime Minister, you understand. And he did not invite his counterpart, Samuel Duggins. And We found that very, very strange, I must admit. I found that very strange that he will, just on his own, go down to St. Vincent, and you see him here. He is sniffing the marijuana. Dr. Drew. But we asked the question, will Dr. Drew, Samal, or the local farmers get an opportunity to, as Samal said, to grow money on trees? Because it's rather an interesting development to see Dr. Joe went to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and you can see him there sniffing the marijuana, and he seemed to be enjoying it. Doesn't he look that way? But will that be will Drew, Samal, or the farmers who will grow money on trees? The question we're asking.
Marijuana industry, as we've heard, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we have been dragging at a snail's pace in getting involved. And I could not understand for the life of me why. Literally growing money on trees. But yet somehow, we don't want to participate. But I dare say, that era is over. And it's now a new day. And a better way. So in 2023, expect a vibrant, thriving marijuana industry. Literally growing money on trees.
Well, it sounds like a joke to him, and I'm sure it's a joke to you as well, because 2023 is nigh coming to an end. Just in a few months. And we'll see if those farmers, or whether Dr. Drew or Samal, will be the ones growing money on trees. But those are my observations in review for tonight, my Stray Dog family. And for those who have just joined me, welcome. Just in time for my thesis, which I have titled, as I mentioned earlier, Incompetence and Deception, Real Threats to Our Democracy. My Stray Dog family, the incompetence of our current Prime Minister and the deception of the leader of the opposition are real serious threats to democracy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Never before in our history has our country been so mismanaged, to the extent that critical sectors such as water, energy, transportation, education, health, agriculture, and housing, though not exhaustive, but they are all on the brink of collapse. And the duty bearers, we call them leaders, have become so clueless about how to even apologize to the citizens on their poor performances and their incompetence. They have taken nigh 4,000 persons off the PAP, and it means nothing to them. But they spend $5 million on advisors and ambassadors and envoys, and $8 million on a museum, the R.L. Bradshaw Museum. But my Stray Talk family, they are a bunch of self-acclaimed experts who don't seem to know their anatomy from their elbow. According to old people would say, they don't know their ass from their elbow, according to old people. But they are a team filled with experts.
I'm tremendously proud of this team. This team is filled with experts in various fields. Any field you might call, there's an expert here, somebody who is well versed in that area, even more versed than me. And that's a good thing. So if I talk about sustainable development, you have Dr. Joya Clark. If I speak to youth and women affairs, you have Honorable Iceland. If I speak about small business and entertainment and agriculture, Honorable Samuel Duggins, well established. If I speak about energy and engineering and so forth, the Honorable Conway Maynard. If I speak about the law, it's a given, or our AGS. When I speak about the tourism product and the advancement of labor laws and so forth, we have our learned honorable who is a lawyer. When I speak about experience in government, we have our senior minister. When I speak about education, and when you talk about empowering of the youth and community development, we have our deputy prime minister, the Honorable Jeffrey Hanley. And so this team is a serious team.
A team of all experts, self-acclaimed experts. The one who is versed in education, Jeffrey Hanley, as we said. He has a PhD from a school he never attended. He's very mum on that. But my Straight Talk family, instead of looking after the poor and vulnerable, these experts are looking after themselves. Who could imagine that these duty bearers, as I call them, would be even so insensitive to the dire economic situation in the country and would even contemplate giving themselves an 85% increase in salary? No matter what he's saying, and he's trying to walk it back, every single one of them supported the idea. Marsha did.
Are we planning to also raise the minister's salaries to discourage the corruption? Minister Henderson?
That's above my pay grade. But I'm hoping that the ministers can in fact get an increase in salary. It's something that I would not be opposed to.
None of them were opposed to it. But the backlash from the country, he tried to walk it back, Dr. Joe. But we know the liar. Like Christopher Columbus he is. But what has confused many, though, is the rationale advanced by the disgraced Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, Garth Lucian Wilkin, who stated that an increase in salary would prevent bribery of ministers. Yes, that one must be shocked you when you heard it. It shocked me. But this is what he said.
In order to discourage ministers being corrupt, they should be paid well. Yes, you're doing a public service. However, you should be able to take care of your family. But it should also be reasonable so that you can satisfy your obligations. And when the person comes with the potential bribe, you can tell them, no, I don't want that.
So insensitive, my Straight Dog family, at this period in our economic struggles, they contemplated giving themselves an 85% increase and trying to apportion the blame to their predecessors. But the incompetence of Terence Drew is being manifested daily in his actions that continue to raise concerns, even among the medical fraternity of which he is a part. How could Drew, for example, continue to deliver water in fire trucks? And he has this announcement on SKNIS, not on his Facebook page anymore, but even up to last night, the fire trucks, he started to move the fire trucks in the dark. People would see them. We always see the fire trucks, my Straight Dog family, whether they do them in the dark, in the night, or broad daylight. The people would see the fire trucks. And everybody saw the fire trucks making trips to and from Basseterre, to and from Keon, up to last night, my Straight Dog family, we saw the fire truck. Yes, we did. We saw it speeding, coming from the fire station there at Ponce Pasture and dashing. And obviously, there were 4 fire trucks, so they probably took the fire truck from the airport as well. My Straight Dog family. But Drew continued to deliver water in fire trucks against the advice of the manager of the Water Services Department. He was already informed that it is unsafe to do so. It is unsafe to transport water in fire trucks. And Dr. Drew was already informed about this unhealthy practice. I know our legislation do not speak to that, but there are precedents set all around the world. My Straight Dog family, all around the world there's precedent. And for Dr. Drew to ignore the advice and continue to deliver water in fire trucks, he don't care about people as a doctor, my Straight Dog family. Because the guidelines are very clear. And these guidelines I've sourced from the state of Florida. And it gives you advice in terms of the transportation of potable water for human consumption. And you can read in that paragraph there, all liquid bulk trailers and tanks used for transportation of potable water shall be of durable construction and cleanable. They shall be constructed of food-grade material, such as stainless steel or other material approved for drinking water contact or liquid food contact by the NSF International, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or the American Waterworks Association. And it goes on. All interior coatings, hoses, gaskets, lubricants, connections, pumps, heaters, or other water contact equipment must be food grade as well, or approved for drinking by the NSF, the FDA, the USDA, or the AWA. Tanks, water buffaloes, and bulk trailers previously used for transporting petroleum products, toxic materials, firefighting chemicals, non-potable surface water, or other deleterious or hazardous substances shall not be used to store potable drinking water. I read it again for Dr. Joe. Tanks previously used for firefighting, transporting firefighting chemicals, the fire trucks, shall not be used to transport or store potable drinking water. But Mr. Drew, Dr. Drew, has power. So he continues to ignore the advice and wields his perceived power and authority like a mad dictator. But his incompetence is a real serious threat to our democracy. To conceal his incompetence, he has a propensity to tell lies. He lies like when a horse is trotting, as my grandmother used to say. Recently, I read an article written by columnist Martins Oloja in the Guardian newspaper, which is published in Nigeria. It was under the caption, "Why does our democracy produce incompetent leaders?" And Oloja opined that democracy appears to produce an abundance of incompetent and dishonest political leaders who exploit people's credulity. Yes, exploits people's ignorance, I think that means, and unawareness, and prejudices, and thrive on emotion-driven stories, emotion-driven discourse, and fake news. My Straight Talk family, and we are all familiar with that. Remember his fake news and emotion-driven discourse about 20 million missing in development bank and in cash, he said. Remember that when he said this?
This one really, really hurts. Is the development bank. Oh boy. Madam Speaker, what took place at the development bank is enough to make a big man cry. But what has been uncovered, Madam Speaker, is over $20-something million can't be accounted for in cash. This again is not some figment of my imagination. Madam Speaker, over $20-something million missing.
It must be a figment of his imagination. Bring it on then, if you have the facts, Dr. Joe, and stop your sensationalism. Then he further demonstrates his incompetence with his silly statement about a run on the national, or a run, beg your pardon, on the same bank, the development bank. When he said this, my Straight Talk family, absurd, nothing but preposterous.
The bank was on the verge of collapse. I couldn't say that to the country for people to lose confidence and run on the bank and basically sink the bank. That would have been the worst scenario. I had to put the country's interest above immediate political interest or any other interest. The immediate interest was, let us save Development Bank.
What nonsense. He continues, my Straight Talk family, with his ludicrous statement as well about the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. And he made that statement again just a few days ago when he said this. He keeps repeating these nonsensical propositions, my Straight Talk family, for a man who is the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, my Straight Talk family. He said this as well just a few days ago and keeps repeating this nonsensical statement.
National Bank, for the first time in its history, could not pay a dividend. So we had to take over a banking sector and try to get it back on track.
He had to take over a banking sector and get it back on track. But Dr. Drew, as Minister of Finance and our Prime Minister, clearly does not know the difference between a cash dividend and a stock dividend. And in fact, I brought you that information before, and he must have been told about it. And his advisors, I know, listen to the program. They should at least tell him. But he doubled down about the bank not paying a dividend. The statements are here, my Straight Talk family. These are the statements. The consolidated statement from the National Bank, my Straight Talk family, of the financial position. And I trust you can read down to shareholders' equity. And it speaks to issued share capital. And it also refers to note 20 of the statement. And it says shareholder is issued share capital $141,750,000, my Straight Talk family. And read the notes. Read the note, my Straight Talk family, as stipulated in the statement, consolidated statement. And go to note 20. Look at note 20, you'll see note 20 there, my Straight Talk family. And it says issued share capital, authorized 270 million ordinary shares at $1 each. Issued and fully paid 141,750,000 ordinary shares at $1 each. $1 each, Dr. Joe. So if you had shares, you get your additional shares are par value $1 shares. You have 50 shares, you get 50 shares. I think that's how it went, my Straight Talk family. But how much more idiotic could Dr. Drew get is a question we must ask ourselves. Dr. Drew said that he had to take over the banking sector and get it back on track. That's what he said. He took over the banking sector and got it back on track. But Dr. Drew is so incompetent because as Minister of Finance, he ought to know the role of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, which is the central bank for the Eastern Caribbean dollar and the monetary authority for 8 Caribbean economies, including St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Drew ought to know that the main objective of the ECCB, which was established 40 years ago in 1983, is to maintain the stability of the Eastern Caribbean currency and the integrity of the banking system. But Dr. Joe is surely out of his depth, as former Prime Minister Timothy Harris so ably put it a few days ago, my Straight Talk family.
He talk about millions of dollars. Well, he must ask how much of that was for housing, how much of that was for other program. And indeed, it was a consolidation of many types of loans that the government itself asked the Development Bank to sustain. Long before Team Unity, when Dr. Joe attempts to create a scare or to scandalize somebody, it tells me he is out of his depth. He doesn't understand the realities of the very organization.
My Straight Talk family, from the moment Dr. Drew assumed office over a year ago, he embarked on a mission to scandalize people with a whole lot of political sensational statements to appease his supporters and scare others. These actions and his proven incompetence are serious threats to our democracy. There is a general view that Dr. Joe is incompetent and has a credibility problem. The general consensus is that Dr. Joe should relinquish his position as leader. Give it up. Also, the Ministry of Finance and the Minister of Health. And just focus on the ministry, of National Security. It is felt by all and sundry that Dr. Joe is overwhelmed with his current assignment and just may be more productive working with his son-in-law, Lionel Woosie Rollins, who was appointed by him as the new National Security Advisor. So surrender all the ministries, Dr. Joe, save and accept the Ministry of National Security. We are very cautious even to give you that ministry. But the country cannot take any more of Drew and his elementary style of politics. Drew does not seem to understand that the political campaign is over. It's now time for the public policy making process to make or to play a central role in the lives of the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Drew does not understand that the main purpose of government is to have lawmakers set policy, and then the civil service or government workers would execute those policies that should be obviously aimed at positively impacting the life of every citizen and resident of the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. And as a former PS myself, the permanent secretaries must advise the their ministers of the means to execute those policies. But there are other, more insidious threats to our democracy, my straight dog family, that have become more apparent at this moment in our history. It is said that St. Kitts Nevis have one of the longest written histories in the Caribbean. And although we are only 2 miles apart and quite small, we were widely recognized as being separate entities with distinct identities until we were forcibly united in the late 19th century. I think it was in 1882. I stand to be corrected, but we were forcibly united back then. But let's fast track to June 1983, when our current constitution was adopted, but which took effect when the country became independent on the 19th of September 1983. In a few weeks, we will be celebrating our 40th anniversary of independence. Our constitution consists of 11 chapters and various schedules, which establish the rights, responsibilities, and definition of the citizens of the Federation. I'm going to focus on Chapter 5, the executive. So let's then move to Chapter 5, Section 58. Or before we do that, my straight dog family, I must state that the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis is unique in that it creates a federation not between St. Kitts and Nevis, but between Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. Quite unique, don't you think? My straight dog family, Section 58, Chapter 5, Section 58, speaks to the leader of the opposition. And 58 subsection 2 reads, and I quote, "Whenever there is occasion for the appointment of a leader of the opposition, the Governor General shall appoint the elected member of the Assembly who appears to him or her most likely to command the support of a majority of the elected members of the Assembly who do not support the administration." Or it continues, "If no elected member appears to him or her to command such support, the elected member who appears to him or her to command the support of the largest single group of members of the Assembly who do not support the administration." So the role of the opposition is clear. Do we have that kind of opposition in the current parliament who do not support the administration? Hell no, I say, my straight dog family. And that is a threat I submit to our democracy. I posit the view tonight, my straight dog family, that there is no leader of the opposition in this current St. Kitts Nevis Parliament. And yes, I hear you say that Mark Brantley took the oath in Parliament as leader of the opposition. But the known Machiavellian behavior of Brantley, the leader of the opposition, brings me to that conclusion. Mark Brantley is focused on his own personal interests and continues to manipulate, deceive, and exploit others to achieve his goals. Look at what he did to poor Sean Richards. Yes, he said he plays the role of kingmaker. Kingmaker, he said, he is.
Let me be clear. This party, the Concerned Citizens Movement, has been and shall remain firmly in the role of kingmaker. For all who have ears to hear, let them hear.
Poor Sean didn't hear that. The continuing deception of Brantley in the role of leader of the opposition is the other real serious threat to our democracy. In 2013, recall, as the leader of opposition, Brantley filed a motion of no confidence in the Douglas Labour administration. Then he held discussions after with Dr. Douglas when that motion was just being flaunted around in the parliament for almost 2 years. Brantley met with Douglas in Florida with a view towards withdrawing the same motion. When he referred the content of the initial deal he made with Dr. Douglas to his then leader, the late Vance Emery, Vance told me, he asked Mark Brantley a simple question. Which will come first, Mark? The money or the motion? Brantley never answered and never withdrew the motion of no confidence, and Douglas eventually dissolved the parliament in 2015. We all will recall that. It was Brantley who told the world about history. The rest was history. When Team Unity formed the government in 2015, and Brantley told the world, my Straight Dog family, Brantley told the world that Team Unity was the best thing that ever happened to Nevis. Yes, he said this.
Team Unity represents the best opportunity for the country of St. Kitts and Nevis to continue the stellar performance that we've had. We are leading, and I want people in St. Kitts and Nevis to get accustomed to that word. We are leading in nearly every facet of human development. St. Kitts and Nevis is ahead of the rest in the sub-region. Economy, human rights, good governance, transparency, low crime, safety and security, you name it, we're leading. It didn't happen by chance. It occurred because you have a team that is dedicated, that is working, that is committed.
And my Straight Talk family, think about it. Drew and his cabinet colleagues, a few of them, always taught the view that nothing happened in the 7 years of Team Unity. Mark Brantley was there for the 7 years. Have you ever heard him challenge that statement by Dr. Drew? Never. But what went wrong with a team that was dedicated, a team that was committed, and a team that was working? It was the best relationship ever, Mark Brantley said.
You have most of the cabinet of the federal government here, and they have come, and they clearly have come over from St. Kitts. And their very presence here is an indication of the first point I want to make, which is that the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis has never been better. It is the best that it has been in the history of this country. It is the best that it has been. And as someone who is in the middle of it, both from the Nevis end as Premier and sitting in the federal cabinet, I can tell you that there has been a genuine effort to meet the needs of all the people of the country and to provide in a way that all the people of the country can benefit. And I think that that, more than anything else, is to me of tremendous significance.
And I was there when he made that statement. He wasn't drunk. And I will confess, I've never, in my 5 years in cabinet with Mark, saw him consume an alcoholic beverage. I don't know if he does. I never saw him. But my Straight Talk family, it was the relationship best ever. But remember, the Constitution also provides Nevis with a great deal of autonomy and contains a provision allowing Nevis to secede should a 2/3 majority of the island citizens vote for secession. Brantley has, however, taken Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy, and perhaps the reason why he is so quiet. And we have not heard any more noises about fair share. Not a noise you have heard from Mark Brantley about fair share in about 2 years, or just over a year, I should say. The Nevis Island administration debt has climbed to over $500 million. Yes, $500 million under Mark Brantley. He is no doubt cautious about rocking the boat because of his debt around his neck.
Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million. In terms of our domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt $480.3 million EC dollars. In terms of government guaranteed debt, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. When then you combine the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is corporations, of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number.
Yes, significant. I haven't reconciled the numbers though, because it should really be 560 million, but unless I missed a figure or he didn't call a figure. But you know, mathematics is my strongest weak point nonetheless. My Straight Talk family, the Fair Share Committee that was spoken so much about has done nothing or has not done any work on this revenue sharing issue. There have been no discussion, and this is according to Mark Brantley himself. He said this.
Some time ago that there was a committee that was established to look into the issues in relation to St. Kitts and Nevis, the fair share component matters. Could you just give us an update as to where that has gone?
I didn't say it was established. I said it was being established.
Okay.
So we have nominated our members to that committee. I've written to the Prime Minister indicating who the people from Nevis would be, 3 persons. It will be led from the cabinet of the NIA by the Honorable Troy Liebert, and we have the legal advisor, Madam Helen Lewis, and Mr. Colin Dorr, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance. Those will be the troika from Nevis, and they now will join those from the Prime Minister's side in St. Kitts to sit and have this discussion.
Well, there has been no discussion and no talk about the fair share. And my information gleaned is that Mark Brantley has not received 1 cent more than he got under the Timothy Harris-led Team Unity administration. But truth be told, my Straight Talk family, our democracy is not well. The health of our nation is inextricably linked to the health of our democracy. And you've heard literally of the situation at the JN France General Hospital, which was made public by a doctor. The incompetence of the Prime Minister does not help. Neither is the deception of the leader of the opposition. My Stray Dog family, our federation is on edge. And I submit tonight that incompetence and deception from the Prime Minister and leader of the opposition, respectively, are real threats to our democracy. And that's my story tonight, and I'm not going to change it. I'm going to open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. If you're so minded to call, my Stray Dog family, the numbers are 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. There are those who like the cloak of anonymity, I call it. So we give you access via our email platform. And the address is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's one word, straighttalk@gmail.com. I always like to implore you, though, before I open the lines, and I'll do so in a few seconds, respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in saying and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. At 9 o'clock, right on the top, I say thank you, caller, for holding your live. Hello, caller?
Good night. You could hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear, my dear.
Okay, Mr. Nevis, my phone was not working. I went slow. You know, it's the way all calls just go. And it's full time we could get a number to talk to them. They come fix it, and a new system they put a box. So I will have to pay more current when current go. I could have used my phone still. So I hope 10 men in one really ball when he see people phone bill. Everybody coming to do us bad. All the talks die down. Houses and hospital, no ideas. The people who pay surveyor and treasury need their land. Don't give nobody to plant no ganja. Other important things there than that to do. If I get cut off, you know. Who else will leave Pam to get ambassador's job from Labour? What a thing. I'll be back if I get back.
Thank you.
Ooh, that's your story, and that's my story.
Thank you. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Thank you for your input. We go straight back to the lines. It's 9:01. The lines are open, my Stray Dog family. We are taking your calls and your emails. Call you live. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller?
Mr. Patrick, good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night, the Bible man. How art thou?
I'm wonderful and wonderful. God is good.
All the time.
God, keep me today. To give me strength this morning to wake up. To keep me on the way going. And keep me for the entire day until tonight. Mr. Peters, I would like to say something to you. It is really, truly wonderful what the Lord has done. And God being good to us. When we look to the east, to west, the north, and the south, and you see what is happening all around us. We thank you to say that God is good to us. Started, we are in the hurricane season, and started, we need to pray and talk to God that our country will be spared, and God will take us through to the hurricane season, and I'm praising God for that. My God, this morning, I get up, I hear all happening in the U.S., and I'm saying tonight, by the grace of God, we are here in St. Kitts. We are very privileged because we have a remnant praying for the country. And so, Mr. Patrick, I would like to say tonight that we as citizens must pray until the light breaks through. God promised us He's not going to destroy the wicked with the righteous. But I am going to leave with you this one piece of scripture, Mr. Patrick. The Bible says, if the righteous could scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner shall appear? The righteous who are praying every day, if the scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner shall appear? Mr. Patrick, you be strong, and God is going to lift you up. He said, the good man are ordered by the Lord. And the one more passage scripture, and I believe the areas. Deceive. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth,
so shall he reap.
He shall also reap. Good night, Mr. Patrick. Have a pleasant day.
Have a pleasant night as well. Dear brother John, the Bible man, always welcome those Bible verses that you present to the program. Another wonderful show. Reads this email. Thank you for showing or allowing everyone to the opportunity to voice their opinion. I am baffled that those labor non-compos mentis folks don't have the guts to stand up and call him out. They just dance as the piper pipes and lead them over the cliff. The blind leading the blind. Dr. Drew does have a vendetta against the Harris family for being highly intelligent. He whines about 20 million being taken from the development bank. If he has all this evidence, why hasn't he have these offenders prosecuted? I see Dr. Drew as King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who first led the people of Israel to sin. He needs to read 1st and 2nd Kings to know God will bring judgment upon him, and unfortunately the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. He keeps lying because the non-compos mentis folks glorify him, and he wallows in it. Dr. Drew will be gone one day, and they shall be held with no character. Yes, Dr. Drew has been spewing lies even before he became Prime Minister. Unfortunately, he continues. He's a highly accomplished liar, and his only accomplishment is lying. Shame on him. Those investors were a figment of his imagination. I am starting to believe that he's a special needs person. Have a good night, Patches. We love your show. It's the only glimpse we abroad are able to see and hear about the dictator. Terence Drew. Don't ever change anything you have said. All you have submitted, after you have submitted your proofs, beg your pardon. To all the naysayers out there, no one is holding a shotgun to make you watch or lusted to. Straight talk. Stay strong. Read this email. Let's go back to the lines at 908. Caller, you okay? Seem to miss that call. Yes, my Straight Talk family, the lines are open. If you just joined me tonight, we are looking at our thesis for tonight. My Straight Talk family, and if you just joined us, our thesis tonight is about incompetence and deceit. Real threats to our democracy. And for just those who have just joined me, like I said, we have advanced the view. We have advanced the view, my Straight Talk family, that we have advanced the view tonight that, why I'm not getting this up, that the incompetence of Dr. Jew is a threat to our democracy. But let's go back to the lines. I will come right back to that, my Straight Talk family. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, good evening, Patrick.
Good evening, my dear. How art thou?
I'm sorry, what about you?
I am always better when I hear your voice, especially when I see those dimples. I can see those dimples there.
Oh my God. Patrick, I'm okay. I just need to know if nobody around can make barrel. From big barrel could hold in Joe, Mark Grantley, and Graf Wilkins, crack it up and roll it straight to the feet. And wherever the draft carry them, they're going to study as long as they get out of Thinkits and Nevis. Because lawyers killing this country. Every minute you hear accident, every minute you hear more dead, every minute you hear more robbing. Them fellows, they need to get out of the island and let the country move on from there. As they are sinking us further and further. So I think somebody needs to get a barrel and put in the trading in there and tell them how to see. Roll them to see, not tell them, roll them. That is you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Very interesting perspective there. Probably put them in a barrel and have them rolled out to sea. And I guess the barrel will float wherever the wind direction takes them. Let's go back to the lines. A caller, you live. Hello, caller. Are they caller? Okay, seem to miss that caller. Yes, my Straight Talk family, if you just joined me, our thesis tonight is titled, Incompetence and Deception are real threats to our democracy. Incompetence and deception are real threats to our democracy. And my Straight Talk family, we looked at, let's go to the lines. I'll get back to that. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you live. Thank you for holding.
Hello?
Yes, you're live, my brother.
Okay, brother.
To all my regular concern fans, you all, good evening. Good evening. You all are listening, so good evening. Especially SO and VG. Patches, let me start here now. Whenever I call in on your show or any show, I call in to talk about the issues that affects the nation. Nothing else. I'm not concerned about nothing else. And first, again, I want to say, thank God for the United States of America. America is the freest nation in the world. Their constitution is FOS, freedom of speech. And America, legal tender currency, is the only one that marks in God we trust. Anybody can say anything in America and they ain't gonna get fired from the job. Nobody gonna victimize them. As long as they ain't threatened to assassinate nobody gonna victimize them and get them free to talk like Sinkit. Sinkit is not free. Sinkit is being governed by a dictator. A dictator, his behavior is that of a dictator, and that is Joe. Now you're gonna tell me, Patches, with all the lie that man they tell every week, every time you open him out. Number one, he sound like small boy Charlie pitching marble and them arguing, ready to fight. He doesn't sound like a statesman. He's not balanced, he's not settled. We know that he's confused because he never expect to be in that position as leadership of the country. But with all these people that you name that you call out tonight, what they are, ambassadors, and the country red, where you gonna get money to pay them there? People who are listening, that is a big lie from morning till night. You told about the country red. Well, if you say, since you say the country red, he keep on wasting the treasury money, going here and there and all over the place, when he could stay home here and do the work. But you see, he know well then that he don't have no opposition. Where is the leader of the opposition? To lead the opposition, to oppose him with these wrong things that he are doing to the country. He tell a lot of lies on the political platform that when he get in power, he gonna increase the PAP and the peace money. Instead of increase it, he kill it. And he say he gonna give $1,500 instead of $500. Nothing at all he give them. People are starving. People who are missing the $500 and whatever they were getting because they were in need. They still are in need of it. And believe it or not, I'm speaking the truth. A lot of people are hungry, balling all over the street. They can't buy this, they can't buy that. But he got money to spend the time they can have it to go here and go there and go there. Let me go now to St. Vincent with the marijuana them. We have a Minister of Agriculture and we have a committee that was put together on the team unity to see about the medicinal ganja. But Joe take it upon himself because he like to haul up in his nose, sniff, sniff. And when St. Vincent, when the Prime Minister of St. Vincent wasn't there, but he joined it with the Deputy Prime Minister and went in the marijuana patch and putting on his nose to them and hauling up. Why didn't he let the Minister of Agriculture and Sciences go up to St. Vincent to talk about the marijuana, what he went to talk about? And why he never let some members of the marijuana committee, including Ras Oya? Ras Oya is the most agitated one who been talking about that marijuana. And why he know more than Ras Oya to go talk about marijuana? But he know the reason why he went up there. And I hope if he travel with any, he travel with him the little bit of ounces that an individual is allowed to walk with and not more. Enough of that. Now this man here is so loyal. Patches, I got must be 29 things that was done under Team Unity. And he said, in 7 years, the Unity administration did nothing. Nothing. Well, people, you all have a black pen in a pen. I'm going to call them out and you just number them. Patty, let me get this out. Digging up and top of Timothy Hill, you did something up there, but those vehicles could park better. Come down on the strip over Figgy Bay. The strip was facelift, and even the seawater, Mr. Grant bringing sand, he fixed the beach, and he had a water break. Come in town, you went to the boardwalk, you put on a sidewalk, you come down, you went across Tim Collins Highway, you all built the National Heroes Park, then you went to the airport, and they fixed the runway, the jetty, or whatever it is.
Runway.
Yeah, the runway. And let us go country and come in town and reach over to Kayan patches. You lift up the wash gut to one straight level, so now you have to go to the gut now. And going up Kayan Hill, you all put a sidewalk there, by the river. And we go over to Mali News. Medical Hospital has been renewed and we built. And then up in Lodge, up in Maligno, you had the club for the children. I don't remember the name.
Explorers Club.
Yeah, the Explorers Club. And then you all built a community center in Atlas. Then let us go down to Tabernacle. A new health center building was constructed in Garnet, and a new building for the police and the fire station in Tabernacle. Let me go down to Bellevue. Unity put a view, VIEW, a viewing stand over there at Black Rocks for people to view the seawater and the rocks down there. Let me go down to Sadler's Patches. You increase the size of the water pipe in Sadler that everybody can have water with good pressure. So they do not have to stand up and lean upon the wall to bathe. That is how to Sandy Point. A building was constructed to house the police and the fire and other government offices. And the New Testament churches, they got a piece of land in Sandy Point to make the funeral. I mean, the cemetery. All that was done under Unity. Let us come up to Old Road. You remove the road from under that dangerous hill and you build a complete new road that everybody can drive on that safe. And we come to town, yeah, you had the West Line bus station and the East Line bus station. You had the houses of Wellington Road and the Food Mobile parking lot up at North Square Street. And then the government paid back the sugar workers and the money that was lacking from them. And they gave them the PEP, whatever it is, the PAP and the peace money. And they put on the roof on people's houses, patches. And what else again? Oh, the traffic lights. Oh, man, I'm talking here. Sorry about that. The traffic lights patches. And the houses up what you got. And the houses of Wellington Road that you did. All those are what was done under Team Unity when Jogan said the government did nothing. And the long pier over there with the largest storage ship in the world was coming back up. He said they did nothing. But anyway, Patches, if I remember anything else, I'll come back with a short punch.
So you were an advisor, man. Wow, right on the ball. Thanks a lot for your information.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I listened keenly and you documented literally everything. Although they said nothing was done. But that's the incompetence and the deception we are speaking about tonight, which are real threats to our democracy. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Oh, Lord. Thank you. I was calling and it just cut out. I don't know if it's you in our mind. Mr. Libert, you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Yes, Mr. Libert, thank the Lord. I am here tonight. Mr. Libert, it have an alley. I walk there every day. On Monday, I was walking. It have 2 holes. I was trying not to go over them. I slipped down on my 2 feet. One cut, I had to go hospital. They give me drips and injection. Dress my foot. Me head dizzy. My shoulder have pain. My lip was swollen like Miss Piggy. My nose was swell. So I am calling on Marsha. I did not see you was campaigning in McKnight. But since it's McKnight give you a job, not tourism, come to see what's going on in McKnight. Don't leave nothing to nobody. It will always be a next time. The land and the roads them want fixing. The land and the roads them want fixing. Mr. Libert, when you get a chance, you could hear me? Yes, I hear echo.
Yes, we hear
when you get a chance, please come 5 ways and to Westbourne Gut. You see what I mean? Who glad at my problem? I am alive, thank God again. Mr. Libert, she must stop say that she made it so. That's why she come. Thanks, have a good weekend. Who do that? Patches do that. Hard to beat. Cheaters can't get nothing to do. Have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear.
When I don't get to hear you, I can't hear you. I don't hear a thing what you don't say, but I will say what I have to say.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, my dear. Thanks a lot for your input.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. You go straight back to the lines. Call your line. Hello, caller.
Hello, good night. Good night, Ambassador. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I'm very peaceful. It's been a while now.
Yes, I haven't heard that voice for a long time, yes.
That's true, but I've been listening.
How are you?
I am good. I am good. I am giving God thanks. But one of the things I want to discuss with you, you spoke of the list of advisors and ambassadors, advisors particularly to the new Prime Minister. But this has left me very uncomfortable because I heard a name that I know and that I would have grown up around. I would have known from I was a child, and I am referring to a particular advisor by the name of Weber from Jamaica. Yes?
Maureen Weber.
Maureen Weber,
yep.
Who has played a pivotal role in the People's National Party while it was growing, which was my party, still a party that I'm actually still a member. Now, the challenge I have with that, and there has to be some sort of justification and explanation as to why this woman was appointed as, let me not say woman, but why Comrade Weber was appointed as in what capacity she's been appointed. The reason for this is, and the country ought to know, and when I speak tonight, I'm unafraid as to who will be upset and who will call my phone. But at the end of the day, why was it this lady was a political consultant to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party? She was a political consultant.
Yes, she was.
She was brought here to consult the Labour Party. She was being paid in that capacity. She also, if you look, a particular individual who is now an advisor to the Prime Minister opposed vehemently the presence of these so-called foreign consultants. Yes? Mm-hmm. And now, so I've been earned handsomely, and I know the figures I could say, but I will not. But I've been earned handsomely throughout the period from May 2022 to August 2022. And now, this lady is coming back again to receive more monies from the people that think it's Nevis. And I could understand if she was brought in as a consultant politically, nothing is wrong with that. But why is it now that the taxpayers of this country must put a bill to pay her to be an advisor to the Prime Minister? In what capacity? In what role?
She advises, I'm told, on the peace program. She's a consultant to that program. That's my information.
But respectfully, Miss Weber does not have those skill sets.
You're right.
I know. Her skill set, she ran the National Youth Service Program while Prime Minister Patterson was Prime Minister. And I think she did this said when Prime Minister Manley was Prime Minister. That is not her skill set.
You're perfectly right. You're perfectly right.
What is wrong with persons we have here within St. Kitts and Nevis who do have the certain skill set? For example, within the very same police force, there are individuals who are trained, well trained, yes, in the very said in matters of security. Why aren't we looking within the very own country? And you know, it's very sad that Comrade Weber is my countrywoman, and I'm speaking this way, but it's the truth. It is the truth. It is the truth. So should this citizenry of this country pay to foot a bill for this lady because the now PM sees that because she supported him, yeah, because she campaigned for him? This is so you're saying people are being given positions based upon who they supported and who they campaigned for? Is that how you run a country? So it means that if I put 10,000 in the campaign, I can come and ask back for something now? True. That's not how you run a country. And it should be frowned upon. It should be frowned upon. Miss Weber is not even a resident in St. Nevis. I'll let the nation know this for a fact. Up until 2022, Miss Weber has never come to St. Kitts for, I think, since in the 90s. Yes? That's a fact. And I know that I will receive backlash for standing on principle. But I am unafraid. It is wrong. It is wrong. This woman is robbing the people of Nevis, and I'm using that term advisedly. When I say robbing, the persons who could have an opportunity to get some help, to get support, poor people who are in this country who are struggling right now, and she's being paid handsomely. That amount of money that is being paid to her monthly could be given for people who need it. That's the cost.
And she communicates. She communicates via Zoom. She doesn't even come to the country. She has her meetings via Zoom meetings. I'm advised every Friday.
Yeah, but how could you?
And handsomely paid.
But what can you achieve? This is a program that requires understanding, right? Requires that you're on the ground, requires that you are changes are made as you go along, because you remember that the thing is, and it shifts. This is not something that is predictable. So you might have different issues arising. So I cannot understand what you're going to achieve out of it, right? But not only that. And I want to, I was not going to raise this issue, right? But I am going to. And I could care less whatever will come after. But the issue of this thing that I'm seeing parading around the country, where citizens and residents are required to go to the son of the Prime Minister to receive a pair of shoes. PM Drew, I'm talking to you as a comrade and as a friend. And also to the man. It is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. And I repeat, it is wrong. And why I say it is wrong, you have put your very own son in the line to be politically attacked. Yes? Now, the PM has a foundation that is called that was launched in, I think, 2021. What if it were that the PM wants to have such initiatives being done? Why wasn't it being done through the foundation? Or why wasn't the issue being directed social welfare then, if that's the case? Yes? It is wrong. You're putting the young man in the line of fire. I spoke in politics. My family were actively in politics, and I understand the implication of ensuring that you protect and keep children out of the firing line when it comes on to politics. And so it is wrong. And not only is it wrong, it goes against the very same ethics that the Attorney General speaks to. Because who is going to determine what? Will the young man determine what the criteria are? Can he set the boundaries and the standards for this? Who will he determine the process as to how people receive these shoes? is wrong. I understand that maybe the young man wants to contribute to his country, but there's other mechanisms in which this could be done. And so I'm asking you, PM Drew, that this is not the right approach. This is not the right approach. There are other charities. There's the Department of Social Welfare, that those things could have been donated, and then the department could have done the very same thing. Anyway, Ambassador, I think I've said enough.
Yes, said a mouthful, but thanks for the information. Thanks for your intervention. Always sound and objective as well. And good to hear you, my brother. Thanks a lot.
All the best.
Thank you. It's now 27 before the 10 o'clock hour. If you have joined me for the first time, and that was a discussion about the list of well-paid advisors, ambassadors, and envoys. I think the list is about 30 or 31. And we listed them out. We called them tonight. Ricky Skerritt, Cedric Liebert, Leon Natter, Kenny Douglas, and you just heard about Maureen Weber, Jamaican. Lionel Woosie Rollins, the son-in-law of, father-in-law of Prime Minister Joe. Douglas Watley, Duncan Watley, Kevin Infamous Benjamin, brothers and nephew. Sean White, Sam Condor Sylvester, Anthony, Dr. Patrick Martin, Hadia Claxton, Austin Edinburgh, Via Galloway, Alva Bradley, Theo Clark, Dr. Powell, retired Commander Wallace, Leroy Fishy Percival, Calvin St. Just, Nigel Wilson, Valentine Lindsay, Dr. Isaac Newton, Ivan Hanley, Warren Nero, Dev Gordon Bath, Chris Freeman, and we added one to this list. I think that name is Dr. Hanley. But it's now 9:35. My Shredog family, the lines are open. We're entertaining your calls. We are discussing our thesis tonight: incompetence and deception, real threats to our democracy. Let's see if I can perhaps discard of some of these emails or dispense of some of these emails. I forgot my emails. Forgive me for that, my Straight Talk family. And this email reads: some people in this country will never be satisfied what else they want in life except the Lord Jesus Christ. There were some who sucked down Team Unity's breast until it was dried and near made any meaningful contributions to the unity. All they were interested was themselves. I see one particular individual online attacking you, Patches, saying you are the one why Keon does not have water, and accusing you for other things. I want to say to this individual, boy, you have a perennial problem with yourself. Don't blame Patches for your dismal failures in the USA and in St. Kitts. If you want to be a Dr. Drew's good book, beg your pardon, to continue your begging and dependency on government for survival, do what you do best. Start kissing his bum. That will enable you to get onto labor breasts. You lazy political breast sucker, and leave Patches alone, who has the boldness to challenge you and keep the government's feet to the fire. Reads this email. This other email reads: Patches, how could right-thinking citizens in this country allow deranged Dr. Drew with no experience in financial or accounting matters to be responsible and have oversight over the major financial institutions in this country? These include the Social Security, Development Bank, National Bank, Ministry of Finance, and the Treasury, including the CBI program. This is a catastrophe waiting to happen in grand style. His most recent decisions involving some of these institutions are signals that we are waiting a financial crisis. For example, even before 2015, The National Bank was experiencing around $500 million in non-performing loans, but yet are still ramping up their promotion to issue loans to persons who might not be able to repay this so-called Apex Loan Initiative in which they recently launched. Reads this email. This other email reads, "Good night, Patches. There is no need to do any reform at Social Security. The range due and the board members should just ensure that their political colleagues, friends and families pay up their contributions to Social Security. These people owe hundreds of millions to Social Security and the pensioners. It is a well-known fact by present and past board members and persons who are close to the organization that dating back over 20 years, employers are owing over $100 million to the Social Security. It is alleged that some of these individuals and companies include some big labor activists. Heard that Christopher Harbour, the Nevis Island administration, topped the list and continues to be delinquent and non-compliant. We shall be watching closely to monitor the situation," reads this other email. "Good night, Patches. How can Dr. Bradshaw, the principal nursing officer, Andrew, corrupt the nursing profession like this? Could you imagine that throughout the entire Caribbean and world, nurses must pass an exam for nursing registration? But Drew and Dr. Bradshaw this week corrupted the system and awarded some nurses who studied in Cuba and failed their regional exam for nursing registration 3 times, some even more, and just award them as registered nurses. You see why JNF is in such a state and why patients are dying in droves up there? So these nurses were not trained to administer injections, IVs, medications, and much more. So how they come registered nurses in one day? I am warning all countries, including Canada, the United States, England, accepting nurses from St. Kitts, to be on the alert. The nursing system is corrupt, and persons' lives can be endangered. The nursing registration system is mad with inconsistencies, and persons registered with the St. Christopher Nursing Council must be closely examined and put on high alert. Just like the CBI and other solid established policies, systems and programs under Jew and Labour, everything is going under. Poor St. Kitts," reads this other email. Thank you. Let's take this other email. I'm asking the former Prime Minister about the $500 he promised us in his constituency. He said that the distance we have to travel deserve an increase in salary. I'm holding you to that. I heard that the cabinet want 85% raise. What about us and our needs? Reads this other email. Good night, Patches. Your thesis is fully supported by the many examples of incompetences that abound in this new Jew administration. We are well aware of the many hiccups that have been incurred within the Ministry of Social Security. These have continued unabated since day one. It is apparent that the Minister of Social Security still views Social Security as a department of government, just as he seems to treat the National Bank as a department of government. This comes out in every utterance he makes regarding these institutions. He simply does not understand the proper governance frameworks concerning these organizations. Case in point, he has been recently making statements admitting openly that he has been interacting directly and speaking with the Director of Social Security in order to get details or detailed information, beg your pardon, and selected particulars, which then broadcast in incoherent statements during his media outings. He doesn't seem to know that as a minister, he does not have that direct channel to the Director of Social Security, in the same way that he has a direct channel to departments of government. He's either lost or is deliberately going off into uncharted waters in his incompetent governance style. Poor fellow, or worse still, poor St. Kitts and Nevis. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Lywood. How are you, sir?
I am peaceful, my dear brother, and good evening to yourself. What about you?
I'm hanging in there, under the due leadership. I noticed that an emailer sent you something about his roundtable discussion this afternoon, which was broadcast at a number of radio stations pertaining to nurses, registration of nurses. I mean, I find that very interesting.
Yes,
because how it's how we put it over, man. I say, man, this is bad treatment of persons who've been trained and that kind of thing, not realizing that they have to pass exams and that kind of thing. Obviously, that's clear deception. Yes. And he fooled off the depressed people, all the depressed people who are asking questions. None of them touched it. Anyhow, something else that he said, though, which he might have been troubling you to some extent. He mentioned that the previous administration, though he said they did nothing. He was talking about water, actually.
Oh, okay.
And the inadequacies of whatever the previous administration did for water supply, providing water to people of St. Kitts. And he mentioned that the previous administration had ordered a 30,000 gallon per day desalination plant. He didn't say to put where, but obviously he pointed at you, and because he get up and said they're going to provide a 400,000 gallon per day desalination plant for St. Kitts. And he didn't say where it's going to go either. But he was trying to imply that 30,000 gallons was totally inadequate. And obviously throwing words at you. That's the way I read it. But the thing about it, what I think he failed to indicate to us is that decisions as to the size of desalination plants and that kind of thing are not determined by the minister. Is actually determined by the experts in the water department for whatever specific use it's for. And he must be saying that the water department engineers don't really know what they're doing if they decide to get a 30,000 gallon desalination plant to do a job that a 400,000 gallon desalination plant should do. Something just didn't line up in my mind. Because we have experts in the water department, and they must know what they're doing. The minister is not an expert in water. He is advised by these people, and then proceed to make the acquisition of whatever they require. So why was he basically kind of pointing at the ministry, the government, and that kind of thing? He basically is pointing at maybe saying that the people in the water department are incompetent.
Well, I really should listen to that. I deliberately didn't waste time to listen today, really. But I don't recall the size of the plant, as I can get that by my next program. But it was a plant grant funded by the United Arab Emirates. I mean,
that's right. Yes,
it was not. It's nothing that we went out to source. They actually grant funded the plant. But 30,000 sounds a little bit low. But I can always verify that.
But that's what he said. 30,000 gallons per day. I mean, that sounds like it's a small area.
Per household, right?
Let me get in that. A hotel or something that is not.
Yeah, but I mean, my heart goes out to Dr. Joe, right? And I suggest that he relinquish some of these ministries he has and try to concentrate on even the prime ministership, because he's just out of his depth, out of touch. You wonder who who advises him, if he gets advice, if he understands the advice he gets. It's saddening. I try to imagine how he indulges in meetings when he's outside. What contributions he make. That's the thing I think about him.
Yeah, the thing about it is he's sitting down with these press people, and none of them seem to question it, Mm-hmm. So obviously he's fooling them as well.
Yeah.
Because, the 30,000 gallons, that seems so inadequate. Mm-hmm. So it came to mind right away. So when Patch is coming on tonight, I'm going to ask him about this thing.
It's a good question. I can verify that, really, because there's one for Senkis, one for Nevis. I remember. I remember when
he didn't talk about Nevis at all. And obviously he spoke about bead and that kind of thing, but he once mentioned that the island of Senkis had problems with bead, and also Nevis, because I think Nevis was carrying them to court and that sort of thing.
That's correct.
If he ended up saying that bead was carrying the Senkis, the unity government to court. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you know how aware of that.
Don't bother with that. Bead never performed their contract. Maybe the contract was signed just before the 2015 elections, right? And the contract is quite clear, and Bead had to deliver X amount of water within a particular period, and they never did. And they had to deliver water from 400 feet and more below the Earth's surface, and they never did. I understand they did that in Cairn. I don't know how true it is, but yeah.
Well, the other day he said 400 feet, and today he's saying 516 feet down. So within a week or two, he has changed his mouth.
What is rather pointing though? You realize that none of the information comes from the technical people. I mean, you have a trained hydrogeologist in Cromwell Williams. I mean, with the masters.
I know. I was wondering what's going on.
He hasn't uttered one word. Everything comes from Dr. Drew. He speaks like the hydrogeologist, But Cromwell is quiet.
and obviously he's making a fool of us and the depressed people in particular.
Yes.
To be talking to him. And not one of them asked anything and said something don't sound right here to me.
Yes.
But anyhow, he knows what he's doing. He has an objective, I believe. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the objective is to fool people. He playing Sagwa with us. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Good to hear. Good to hear, my brother. Good to hear. The people of St. Kitts reads this email. St. Kitts Nevis, that should be. Must demand quality health care. And if our Cuban-trained Dr. Prime Minister can't deliver, we must get rid of them. Reads this email. And the email that was just referred to about the nurses, and one is happy for these nurses who went to Cuba. But if I recall, and I'll get some more information, and the then Minister of Health, Wendy Phipps, would be able to even shed some more light on that. But this happened even before Team Unity. The decision was taken way back in 2013 under the Douglas administration, because through the CFBC, I think it's the UE set the exams, and I know that was discussed several times, even our time, but there's a high failure rate as it relates to exams. So for Drew to come and take the decision that he took, well, again, we're happy for the nurses, but the system, as this emailer wrote, is corrupt, and persons can be endangered. But we'll see what happens, and I'll get some more information on that as it relates to the decisions taken with the nurses. My Straight Talk family, it's 8 before the 10 o'clock hour. If you have joined me for the first time, Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 in the PM to 10 PM. And sometime next week, by special request. We're going to have the former Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, live on Straight Talk, and he will entertain your calls and your emails. I don't know if I'm at liberty to state, but we should have Dr. Harris live on Straight Talk on Monday, and it's good to see him coming out now and relating to the people and communicating with the people. He's been rather quiet for some time, and the country needs some guidance. And it was refreshing to hear Dr. Harris, who is obviously notches above them in terms of experience, in terms of knowledge, in terms of capacity. I mean, Joe is politicking when he should be dishing out policy. The campaign is over, Dr. Joe. Time to dish out your policies, whether on health or finance, education. That's what the people want to know. But as we wind down tonight's programming, and perhaps I'll take 2 more calls for tonight. But we look tonight at the incompetence of our current Prime Minister, Terence Michael Drew, and the deception of the leader of the opposition, Mark Winkworth Brantley. And we advance the view that the incompetence of the current Prime Minister and the deception of the leader of the opposition are real serious threats to democracy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Never before, we opine, in our history has our country been so mismanaged to the extent that critical sectors such as water, energy, transportation, education, health, agriculture, and housing are on the brink of collapse. And the duty bearers, we call them leaders, have become so clueless about how to even apologize to the citizens for their non-performance or poor performance and for their incompetence. There are a bunch of self-proclaimed experts who don't seem to know the anatomy from their elbow, according to old people. And instead of looking after the poor and vulnerable in our community, they are looking after themselves. They try to sneak in an 85% increase in salary, but the people were looking and watching, and they pulled back. Caller, you're live.
Good evening. Some people want to know why can't you come on the radio? Why can't you have a radio show so the whole world could hear you much better? Well,
you know, some people try to suppress the information provided by Straight Talk. ZIZ kicked me off. Never owed them a cent like the Labour Party owed them. Haven't paid. Win FM used Garth Wilkin, who was the former chairman of the board.
Yes, I know Garth and Win FM them. Yeah.
The other stations I know have programs the same time as Straight Talk, so but I understand what you're saying, but that's the situation, you know.
Sugar City FM, what happened to that station?
Beg pardon?
What about Sugar City FM? What happened to that station?
I believe that somebody has a show there on Mondays and Thursdays, if I'm correct. And Nital had a show going there. I don't know if he's still on. I really don't know.
Okay, Patrick. People longing to hear you on the radio, and I mean, we reach a bigger audience. But anyhow, thank you, you know.
My pleasure. I understand you. Thanks for your advice as well.
For what you are doing.
My pleasure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we ain't got nothing. We hear nothing from no other place, just a bunch of. So we would like to hear from you, so keep up the good work. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot, my brother. And thanks for the information. And as I said, I intend to be an untiring advocate of truthfulness. And the truth is, my Street Dog family, is the incompetence of Terrence Jew is being manifested daily in his actions that continue to raise concerns even among the medical fraternity of which he's part. You heard of what was done with the nurses today, which is something we'll investigate further. He delivers water in fire trucks for human consumption. It is unsafe to do so. And the Water Services Department already informed Dr. Jew about this unhealthy practice. But you think he listens? No. He ignores the advice and wields his perceived power and authority like a mad dictator. Instructs the fire department up to last night and night before, and the trucks were running in the dark of night. To conceal his incompetence, he has the propensity to tell lies. He lies like when a horse is trotting, my Straight Dog family. But his incompetence, we advance the view, is a real serious threat to our democracy. Recently, I read an article written by columnist Martins Oloja in the Guardian newspaper, published in Nigeria. It was under the caption, "Why does our democracy produce incompetent leaders?" And Oloja opined that democracy appears to produce an abundance of incompetent and dishonest political leaders who exploit people's ignorance, people's unawareness and prejudices, and thrive on emotion-driven stories and fake news. Caller, I'll make this my last call of the night. Caller, you're live. I thank you for holding.
Okay, Patches, I would like somebody to get in if somebody were trying to get in because, okay, let me just tell you, why don't Dr. Joe answer this question and tell the listening audience how many passports he sell? A year done gone, and people been asking him that question and he refused to answer it. That means something is wrong and he's hiding it. But that is not transparent. Anyway, you got time for somebody to make a little 30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Have a good night as well, my Straight Dog family. And yes, he spoke about $20 million missing in development bank cash, according to him. And he hastens to say it's not a figment of his imagination. But what it was then, if it's not that? He then demonstrates his incompetence with a silly statement about the run on the development bank. He made a ludicrous statement about the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank, which he said a few days ago never paid dividend for the first time. Nonsense. They paid a stock dividend. Dr. Jew, as the Minister of Finance, clearly doesn't understand the difference between a cash dividend and a stock dividend, as in fact the National Bank paid a stock dividend, as I said. My Straight Dog family, how much more idiotic could Dr. Jew get? He said he took over the banking sector and got it back on track, like he's the governor of the central bank, totally unaware of the role of the central bank, which is this central bank for the Eastern Caribbean dollar and the monetary authority for 8 Caribbean economies, including St. Kitts and Nevis. He ought to know that the main objective of the central bank, the ECCB to be exact, which was established 40 years ago in 1983, is to maintain the stability of the Eastern Caribbean currency and the integrity of the banking system. What did he do? The banking system, he said, to bring it back on track. And I'm not fabricating. I don't, my Straight Dog family. But this is what he said. He said that he brought the banking system back on track. He said this.
National Bank, for the first time in its history, could not pay a dividend. So we had to take over a banking sector and try to get it back on track.
Imagine, had to take over banking sector and get it back on track. What nonsense is this man telling our people? He's surely out of his depth, as Harris intimated a few days ago. But from the moment Dr. Drew assumed office over a year ago, he embarked upon a mission to scandalize people. The whole lot of political sensational statements to appease his supporters and scare others. These actions and his proven incompetence are serious threats to our democracy, my Straight Dog family. But I want to advise Dr. Joe. It is now time for public policy making, or for the public policy making process to play a central role in the lives of our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The political campaign is over. Understand, Dr. Joe, that the main purpose of government is to have lawmakers set policy and then have the civil service or the government workers execute those policies that should be obviously aimed at positively impacting the life of every citizen and resident of St. Kitts and Nevis. But there are other more insidious threats to our democracy that have become more apparent at this moment in time in our history. My Straight Dog family. We fast track to 1983 and our Constitution. We looked at section 58 of our Constitution, chapter 5. And we spoke to the appointment of the leader of opposition who do not support the administration. And we all can conclude, my Straight Dog family, that there is no leader of the opposition in the St. Kitts Nevis Parliament. Yes, Banty took the oath of office in Parliament as leader of the opposition, but his known Machiavellian behavior as leader of the opposition brings me to that conclusion. Brantley is focused on his own personal interests and continues to manipulate, deceive, and exploit others to achieve his goals. We are watching closely how Dr. Joe is dealing with him. And my Straight Dog family, we are saying that Brantley has taken Nevis to the brink of bankruptcy. And perhaps that's the reason why he's so quiet. And we have not heard any more noises about fair share. The NIA debt has climbed over $500 million. Over $500 million in Nevis. And perhaps that's why Brantley is trying to play his cards. Right.
Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million. In terms of our domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt 480.3 million EC dollars. In terms of government guaranteed debt, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. When then you combine the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is corporations, of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number.
Economy on the brink of collapse. Good night, Patches reads this email. Drew boasts much so about the quality of healthcare in St. Kitts. But how come a family member of mine who graduated with one of the highest honors at the nursing program at CFBC couldn't get a job in St. Kitts for a whole year? He even gave a speech at the graduation. Is it because he's not politically affiliated? Just imagine the government hired others who graduated with him and did not do so well. But he can't get a job. He ended up coming to Nevis now as he got a job in the health services at the hospital, reads this email. And this final email reads, Patches, I am happy that you and the citizens of this country are on the ball as it relates to social security. Patches, how come you don't know that it has always been a policy, and in fact, the law, where Social Security facilitates loans for the purposes of investment to the government and its statutory bodies, including the Development Bank, NHC, the port, etc. The unity government met over $100 million and had to consolidate all these loans Labour left in the Development Bank. And that's the way we're going to end it tonight, my Straight Talk family, in terms of our emails. And as well, to say in closing, truth be told, our democracy is unwell. The health of our nation is inextricably linked to the health of our democracy. The incompetence of the Prime Minister, Terence Michael Drew, does not help. Neither is the deception of the leader of the opposition, Mark Brantley. Our federation is on edge. And I submit tonight in closing that incompetence and deception are real threats to our democracy. And that's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you, the many listeners on social media, my Facebook page and my YouTube pages. Share the word. Let's spread it out so the whole world can be in tune and know what's happening here in our country, especially in the diaspora. I want to thank those who called, those who sent emails. And I want to remind you that you are the ones who make Straight Talk. And for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liebert, and God's willing, God's spare, we will connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. And I will have a special guest on Monday, the former Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Sylvester Harris. He'll be here for the 2 hours. He will engage with you. So tell your friend, tell your neighbor, tell your family that Timothy would be here. So until we connect on Monday, my Straight Dog family, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday. Have a good weekend. Be cool.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, the Lord I kneel and pray, with my heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day, my guardian to keep and my guide, over every step I take, He will preside. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. My way with strength and courage from above. No man I'll fear, since God protects me with His love. Strong, pure and true, and so sincere, 'cause my knees I'll always stay to the Lord in prayer. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, I gotta reach the top